Okay, that just gave me chills. One doctor seeing you completely change the total trajectory of your life, like changing, seeing a chiropractor and seeing the impact that it has made on your life, and then being able to be like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life now, too. I believe that you
Right.
are best suited to help those that you can relate to best. And are a living proof of that. And you understand when people say how painful it is to have migraines and to live with
Yes.
just the shooting pains that you were explaining. I mean, that completely takes over your entire life. When you're in so much pain, it changes who you are from the inside. I can only imagine the struggle that that has been on your heart for so long, so many years, and so many crucial years of you growing up. And just how did you find the strength
Mhm.
to keep going and want to keep figuring it out? Welcome to Denny Talks, a guiding conversation to living life to the fullest. Join us for inspiring discussions on entrepreneurship, small business tips, and seizing the opportunities. Subscribe now for concise, motivating episodes that encourage you to chase your dreams, where we believe that life, dreams, and opportunities collide. So many alternative ways of reaching your health, and it's made such a huge difference in our life already. And so I'm excited to kind of be on a journey with you, and so just kind of share
Yeah.
that out there if you don't mind.
When I was about 12, I remember having headaches before, but it's one of those occasional off and on, maybe dehydration from swimming or something. My sister and I were in a car accident, and I actually hit the windshield with my forehead at 55 miles an hour.
Wow.
And I tore all the ligaments in my neck and had a couple concussions and things like that. Because I actually hit the windshield and came back and hit the seat back again. So knocked myself around a little bit. And then so from there, I started developing headaches, and then they started developing into migraines. And then I also had a scoliosis hit about that point. So that was, that 12-year-old when the girls start getting that scoliosis. So I had that. The doctors thought it was neurologic because it was backwards compared to everybody else's. My scoliosis was. So they thought maybe the trauma from the wreck induced the scoliosis. So that started having back pain. I would have like a searing pain, like someone was sticking a knife in my shoulder blade. Basically, is what I felt all the time from that point. And doctors just said that's your scoliosis. You're gonna have to live with it. So I just kind of put that on the back burner. But as high school got on, those headaches turned deeply into migraines, and there would be like 6 days a week. And then I even had a medical IEP in high school that if I had a migraine, teachers couldn't force me to take my test because I just couldn't focus. I would have to be allowed a special time later to come back and take my test or lay my head down during class. I wasn't a lazy kid. I had, 4.0. I was in band and choir and all that. So I wasn't a lazy kid. It just, sometimes was in so much pain. And then I went to many specialists, many doctors, neurosurgeons, surgeons, neurologists. And it got to a point where they wanted to just chip open my skull. That was their fix, was to open the back of my head and chip my skull out around my brainstem to see if they could relieve pressure. That was the fix. But they couldn't guarantee that I would walk again, talk again, be paralyzed, or make it through the surgery. When you're chipping bone around a spinal cord, it's kind of invasive.
To
That
say,
was the point where my mom was like, "No, go ahead.
yeah, just to say the
What'd
least.
you say?"
To say the least, that that would be a little
Yeah,
bit invasive.
yeah, right. Yeah, for sure. And so my mom was just like, like take a step back, and let's see what happens. I think she was God led for sure. And a chiropractor around that point just said, give me a shot. And we'd never tried chiropractic before. And so I started going to him. He was in Tulsa, so we were making 2 or 3 trips a week to Tulsa to see him. But he specialized in scoliosis and things like that I had. So we were seeing him, and the migraines went from 6 days a week to about six a month, which to me was a complete miracle. So that was that was life changing, and I got most of my life back because when I was in school, I would go home, I would lay down, go to bed, wake up about 3 o'clock in the morning so I could get all my homework done and get my studying done before the class started the next day. And like most of my friends didn't know that, but I didn't really have a social life because I'd go home and go to bed. And so chiropractic saved me from that. And that was the point where I was kind of entering college and I was already pre-med. So I just kind of switched and went chiropractic. So that's how I became a chiropractor and love what I do, love helping people. But even in practice, still had that knife in the back pain and I was still having headaches. And some days I was in more pain than the patients I was working on. And it got to a point where I was like, I can't hurt worse than the people that I'm trying to heal. So my mom actually passed away. I watched her pass from complications of diabetes, and I just prayed, I don't want to go down that way because I saw 13 IV drips going in, and that's how she passed. And I don't want to go like that. I want to go out living life and having fun. And so about 2 weeks later, there was a postcard for a nutrition seminar, and I would get CEs for it. So I was like, I'm gonna step away for a minute from my grief and just go be away, new environment for a weekend, and it's a tax write off. So I went, and they were doing what's called nutrition testing, and the guy says, "Anybody here in pain?" And I raised my hand. And so he got up there and he asked where I was in pain. I was like, I've had pain in my shoulder blade for 20 years now. And he's like, let's figure out what it's from. And he actually traced it. And it was involving some organs inside my spleen, some different things like that. And I had 2 types of Lyme and parasites, some heavy metal toxins and foods all involved. And so I was eating the standard American diet, lots of sugar and things like that. So he gave me some dietary changes, recommended about 3 supplements. And then I realized about 2 weeks later, like my back pain's gone. And there's something to this. So I started researching, how do I learn this? How do I learn how to do this? Because I feel like, if it helped me, I can help others. And so 18 trips to Florida later, I have my nutrition response testing certification. I was an advanced practitioner. And then lately, we just finished our quantum nutrition testing practitioner training, where we can now test people via telehealth or, distance, and because we're all connected. And so, I'm just able to help people more than I ever dreamed I was going to be able to when that young doctor in pain all the time was practicing. So that's how I do what I do.
You understand when people say how painful it is to have migraines and to live with
Yes.
just the shooting pains that you were explaining. I mean, that completely takes over your entire life. When you're in so much pain, it changes who you are from the inside. I can only imagine the struggle that has been on your heart for so long, so many years, and so many crucial years of you growing up. And just how did you find the strength to keep going and want to keep figuring it out?
For me, I've always been more, I don't want to say outward focused, but I actually started the disability process with my doctor because I was in so much pain. And then I just think, what good am I to somebody at home on the couch? If I could get up and do something, I'm still going to be able to help somebody, So I'm one of those, just keep the bigger focus of even if I help one person today, it was much better than me staying home, So I think that was the only thing keeping me going, is the hope to maybe help somebody else not suffer, because like you said, I do know what it's like to suffer and have that empathy. So, that was my goal.
My goodness. And so talk to me a little bit about your chiropractic facility. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us where we can learn a little bit more about what you do. How do we get involved?
Mm-hmm. So my practice is in McAllister. It is at 529 South 3rd Street. I see patients from, my youngest was a few hours old, all the way up to my oldest was about 95 years old. So chiropractor for all ages. We consider birth a trauma. They have 90 pounds on their neck as they go through the birth canal. So we try to see anybody who needs help. We try to open our doors for. And I just kind of, not every patient's the same. I don't try to give everybody the same adjustment. I try to figure out what is going on, what's going on with that person's individual body. So patients or people, even just interested, you're always welcome to call, talk to my staff. My staff is wonderful about answering your questions and pointing you in the right direction if they can. And, even if we can't help, we maybe offer some suggestions.
Right. Well, and I can attest to that too. I came to you because I had lower back pain. I injured it from powerlifting, or I had fallen, and something. And you were the second chiropractor that I had tried out. The very first one did some adjustments, and every time that I went back, it was the same sort of adjustment every single time. It was just felt like a very standard procedure. And then when I went to you, it just felt like I literally left the table and I was like, oh, this felt different. This was way different. And that was completely life-changing within that instance too. And like you had said, my care was way different than when my husband went to go see you for a chiropractic appointment. And so I really just appreciate that, because like you said, sometimes you go in and you see these other doctors that you might have seen, and they are just doing a very similar routine checkup. And so I really appreciate that yours feels very unique to each individual person, and you are very specific about only doing what you need for that particular client, not just willy-nilly doing everything and all the things.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. I just, I was taught in chiropractic school, treat every patient like they're your mom or your best friend on the table, and you'll never have an issue. So I just try to, everybody's my best friend on the table. I'm trying to fix them. So that's what we aim for.
Well, and that comes through. You're very inviting and easy to talk to, and you're relatable. And so those are just huge power points that everybody is really would just benefit from going to working with you. So can you tell
Thank
me a
you.
little bit about you let's go backwards a little bit to like your nutrition response testing, because you were
Mhm,
explaining that you were diagnosed with like Lyme and all these
mhm.
different characteristics that were contributing to the pain that you are feeling, that was much more
Yes.
than just like a physical, like an injury of some sort, when you think of like a broken bone. So how come that kind of thing isn't really looked at when you go to a typical doctor?
That's a great question because I look back, I had Lyme as a kid. I know I did because I have even there are some Lymes that give us the marks on our skin.
Okay.
They look like stretch marks, but they're kind of up and down or they're sideways, and it doesn't really coincide with weight or growth or anything like that. I stopped growing at 12, so I'm short, so I know it didn't have anything to do with getting too tall too fast. But knowing what I know now, is I probably got it about 6, 7 years old. And, I was a country girl. We're out, fishing, getting bit by everything in God's country down here. So I don't know why it wasn't caught. And I do know that on lab work, only about 30% of Lyme is ever caught. And so, what makes what we do different is it's an energetic thing versus just relying on what's flowing in the bloodstream. Because a lot of things just hide in your tissues, they're not always flowing in your bloodstream. And I think that's what made it so different when he checked why I was having back pain. He's like, "Oh, you've got a lot of immune stuff going on." And nobody had ever told me, my blood work was perfect. I've never had a high or a low on anything on my blood work. I went for my yearly exams every year, and never had anything show off, no thyroid, no anything. And then he finds all this immune stuff and food stuff and heavy metal toxins. And it's because it's a form of energy medicine basically versus just relying on test results and blood results. And I think that was the key, is just looking for the underlying cause, and instead of just relying on a blood work and a blood test.
Is this something that, I mean, because you said you went to Florida in
Mm-hmm.
order to get the training needed for this, and I know you have yours here in McAllister. So is this a common practice?
Yeah, there's thousands of nutrition response testing practitioners, and then we're growing with the quantum nutrition testing. A lot of us have moved more quantum because we're finding more with that. I find far more with the quantum than I did with the other, but both have been invaluable. Both have saved my life, so I utilize both on patients. But yeah, there's thousands of practitioners all over the United States, and a lot of us, I have two in my practice. It's me and Jessica both do the nutrition in my practice. And so we just, as much as we can help. That's There is no natural health in Southeast Oklahoma, so we just try to do as much as we possibly can.
I'm like you, where I don't have that pain that you were explaining, but like my stomach feels off all the time, just trying to figure out what's kind of going on with how do I be at most optimal results for myself as well as my husband. And going to you and kind of checking out like the nutrition response, I honestly, I feel like it was a little bit like hoodoo voodoo type
Yeah.
stuff, because I'm like, but at this point I was like, let's just try anything and everything, because like my husband, he um has not been able to consume dairy and gluten and all these like random things, like randomly gourds. He can't consume melons, like such interesting things that are just not very typical. And it happened like all of a sudden, like right when he turned like 30. And so he went in to see you, and it was so interesting because you were able to pull up very, very specific things that were unique to him that nobody else could have known. And so that was when we were like, she's on to something. Like if this can completely change things, that like you said, it's going to be a game changer for so many people's health. And again, you go into the doctor, your typical doctor, and it just, and there's nothing wrong with your modern medicine. There's definitely a time and place for all of that. But it was really frustrating to say, well, all your labs look good. Like, I don't know, just
Yeah.
cut out this food and you'll be good. And it wasn't really addressing, like you said, that root cause. And so now that we have been on um, the specific nutrition response detox pills kind of thing for the last month, I mean, I have already seen so much dramatic improvement in my life and my husband's life, and my mom has done it. And so I've been telling everybody, I'm like, you need to go check this out. I don't know if you have one near you, but you're gonna have to come down to Miss Dr. G. And so
We can do it. We can do it telehealth, no matter where they are. We can do that. Yeah.
and that's so, it's, I mean, because you ask us to like lay on the table and you can
Uh-huh.
feel the energy and stuff. So I'm surprised that you can do that through like telehealth too.
It is, yeah, like you said, everybody is like, this is kind of hoodoo voodoo. And I even thought that when I started, I was like, whatever. He just touched my side and gave me a supplement.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, 2 weeks later, I'm like, wait a second, my back pain is gone. And so it's just one of those things you have to trust in the process. God gave us everything we need to heal. And this is just, he gave us tools that we can use to find what's wrong. And I just feel like we just kind of uncover one of the processes to find what's going on, basically is what we do. And we just kind of we always anything we suggest for a patient is going to be natural. It's going to be food based, it's going to be herbal, it's going to be straight from the ground as best as possible. So nothing's going to hurt. You're not going to hurt somebody giving them herbs or vitamins. So it's one of those, it's safe, it's natural, it's effective. I mean, we treat babies with nutrition, and so it's great for everybody. And if you could imagine, I have a patient with little kids. She started them on supplements when they were 1, and they're incredible kids, and they're so smart. And knowing everything their body needs at all times is pretty fun to watch these bodies change and results happen.
I bet you that is just so rewarding to feel like you are just impacting so many people's lives on a regular basis. And what an exciting trail. And your journey has started with such hardship. And so it's nice to see that you're coming out on the other side, and it feels good the way that you are. So I'm excited for
And
you.
I really think that was on purpose. I think sometimes God lets us go through things so we will have that empathy and that passion, because if I didn't suffer as much as I did, I don't know if I would have that level of empathy and passion for somebody who is suffering.
Right. Or the drive to go down to Florida 18 times in order to get started, because that's a commitment right there. I mean, you're taking on additional things outside of going to school to become a chiropractor.
Yeah, yeah. That was about 5 years after chiropractic, and the money and the time off and all that to go down there, but worth every second of it. As long as I have somebody who feels better, that was what it was for.
Well, Ben is very excited to, you told him that he should probably be able to start like consuming dairy in about 10 months, because you think that he has been, I'm going to use the word intolerant or allergic to dairy for about 10 years. He's had some sort of like parasite living within his body. And
Mhm.
so he's like, man, if this starts working, I already know what I'm going to eat. I already know dairy
Yes.
he's
Yeah.
going to consume.
He's
Oh,
already lined it all out.
oh yeah. Yeah, we have it planned out. So we're excited about that. And like you said, I mean, we're now
Mhm.
excited to see just how much better you feel. And so can you tell me, because it sounds a little bit crazy to say like, oh, you have a parasite living in you. And so
Mhm.
you almost have to do a lot of debunking, I'm sure, when you're having these patients come in. So can you tell me a little bit about like the science behind what goes on in your body that are causing these toxins?
Absolutely. So parasites specifically, that is 75% of my nutrition practice because we're wonderful in our medical community of looking for bacteria and viruses and things like that. But we, up until just the last few years, everybody says, oh, well, you haven't been out of the country, you don't have a parasite. That, that was one of the questions. Have you been out of the country? Well, you can't have a parasite, but they are everywhere. And they actually serve a function. Their function is to be a sponge for toxins. So if you think about our world, excuse me, our world is full of toxins. It's in the air. Our food's sprayed with pesticides. Our water has heavy metals in it. We live in such a world full of toxins that we do sometimes get that overgrowth of parasites to handle that toxin. Or if a person goes through a major dental work and they get a lot of metal, and so the parasites are there to handle that toxin. Plus we have pets. If I always say, if you have a pet, you have a parasite. So that's just one. I'm not getting rid of my dogs, so I'm gonna probably go on a parasite cleanse at least once a year while I have dogs. But they do serve a function. But when they have that imbalance, it's just like when your bacteria get out of balance, you get the head cold, or things like that. Or if your gut gets out of balance, you'll have the digestive issues. It's the balance that we're looking for. Do we want to get rid of all parasites? No, because they have a function. But do we want to fix that balance and fix the damage there? Yes. And so that is my focus, is the what is causing the underlying issue. So since parasites do handle toxins, they sponge up toxins, we probably need to detox you while we get rid of the parasites. So we get rid of their food and them at the same time. So it just kind of depends on the patient, what we find. Everybody's different. And just like you and your husband, me and my husband live in the same house. I cook all of our food, but we have two completely different nutritional programs because we have different nutritional needs. And so, we just want to figure out what that individual person needs. But yeah, parasites are huge, and they make cysts, they make tumors, they make all kinds of things that go on in our body. And that's why you hear those stories of people who took the horse dewormer and got rid of their tumors and things. It is because that is a thing.
So I guess what I'm trying to say too is that it's common. It's not like if you have a parasite, you're gross kind of
Yeah,
thing. Like, I think I
no,
read that it was like a statistic that it was it like 80% of people have like harmful parasites that they don't even know they're living with. I don't know that
yeah,
statistic, but it's
yeah,
something.
very high, very high. Yeah. And actually, everybody has Lyme bacteria. It just doesn't get active and things like that. So, it's just trying to find out what's affecting that person's individual health at that time.
Well, that is a world of knowledge. And so you're dealing a lot with people finding struggles and with their health. Like they are coming to you because they're most likely having some sort of issue. So can you tell me like what kind of motivation do you have for people who are like you want to offer those for who are wanting to make a positive change, but they kind of feel stuck? What kind of tools or tips do you have for us to get unstuck?
Yeah, I would just say pick an action. Waiting for motivation, sometimes you'll wait forever. I know that with working out and things like that. But, if you just set a goal and make an action, my best trick to get unstuck is just, pick one thing, one small, like this week, I'm not going to eat sugar, and see how you feel. If you're starting to feel better, okay, we all should eliminate our processed sugars, but pick one thing and just take action. That the little wins, the little goals you get, for 2 weeks, I'm not going to eat gluten. See how you feel. It's a small, achievable action that's going to start that ball rolling. Well, if I gave up gluten and I feel better for 2 weeks, what else can I do? So I would think just to get unstuck is pick one goal, pick one small action and start.
That's wonderful advice. That's so true. And like you said, it's going to also build with the confidence within yourself that, okay, if I can stick with this one small goal, then I can add on to it. And you're just going
Yeah,
to completely change your life with that too. So throughout
absolutely.
your journey, what are some impactful tips or tricks that you've discovered for really sustainable health and wellness, like on a regular basis?
My favorites are stay out of the middle of the grocery store, stick to the outer ring. That's going to be your meat, fruit, veggie, nut, those kind of things. Those are the best way. Turn your labels over. If you can't pronounce it, your body can't pronounce it either. Your body can't utilize it. So if there's ingredients that are 20 letters long, you might not want to ingest that. So I would just look at that. Keep maybe even keep a food diary. That can help because sometimes foods take 3 or 4 days to break down to cellular level. And so I know with me and my migraines, it was at least 36 hours after I ate the food that I actually got the migraine. So if I had not had a food diary, I may not have known that that food 36 hours ago was what was holding me back or harming me. One instance was Olive Garden. Next to my chiropractic college, there was an Olive Garden, and we would all go for the $5 soup, salad, and breadstick because it was a cheap, college kid lunch. And I would have a migraine about 36 to 40 hours later. And I called and got an ingredient list. This was back before everything was on the internet. And there was MSG in the salad dressing, in the soup, and in the sprinkle garlic powder on the bread. So that was triggering my migraines back then. So if I had not kept a little food log, and it was just a notebook, where I just kind of wrote what I ate, and that I wouldn't have known that that was one of the triggers. So those are kind of my favorite things, is to just making it easy for yourself. Jack LaLanne, he was one of my favorites. I got to meet him before he died, and he said, if man made it, don't eat it. If it tastes good, spit it out. That's pretty much, so if man made it, try to avoid it.
I like that tip that you told me to stay on the outskirts of your grocery store. And that just really painted a picture. I'm like, yes, you're right. That is exactly where you want to kind of stick. And because you're right, the inside aisles are where that's where some of the goodness is. That's where your chips are. That's where your baking goods are. And so that's really important to kind of maybe circle that first before
Yeah.
you to kind of go down those aisles if you that's interesting. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Well, so Dr. G, what more information can we learn? Tell our listeners one more time where they can follow you. You're really active on Facebook. If you're on your personal side of things too, you're always asking us questions to engage. But can you tell us a little bit about where we should find you again?
Yes, so you can find me at my Facebook page, and then I have a Dr. G's Chiropractic and Nutrition Facebook page. I'm actually rebuilding. My old page got hacked, so the new one's getting rebuilt. And so you're welcome to follow that. I'm more on there. They can also go to my website. It's healingmcallister.com. And I'm actually fixing to launch a headache program. I wrote a course for people to take online where it actually teaches them all the things that cause headaches. And so, used to, you would look up what foods cause headaches, and it was like chocolate, cheese, and wine, and that was it. And so I was like, that's not enough. And because I personally had about 8 migraine triggers. And so I wanted to teach patients, okay, it's all of these things and how to find all of their individual triggers. So that's at theheadachewhisperer.com. And I'll have a link and everything on my website for that. And my Facebook page has that too.
That's awesome. Your story is so impactful. I'm going to tell you that I'm going to come back to you in a year and I'm going to expect a book coming from you because you have a story that is worth telling. And I'm excited for it. Your story needs to get out there. So thank you so much for spending your morning with me. It's just been a life altering for our family. And so I was like, it's things that you wouldn't have even known that are existing and how impactful they are, just to kind of go more of the non-traditional route. And like I said, it's just been so helpful for our family. And then I know for your story as well. And I just love hearing a little bit more about how you got started and watching you grow and expand and helping so many people. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to help you. That's what the best payment in the world for me is, people feeling better.
Well, you're so sweet. So I will talk with you soon. Thank you so much for today.
Yeah, thank you.